No worries.
Right, okay. Before we start, Your Worship, just a quick go around the table. Kristen, our utilities clerk on term. We have 4 of our councillors here in the mayor, Councillor Hassan, Councillor Grote,
Hello.
Councillor Morrill, and Councillor Lafferty. And Mayor Wood.
So we should have time to put this on the next segment, because it says in June.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's.
That's good to know. We'll put it on Monday's meeting for sure.
Next
Next week we'll meet on Tuesday.
Right.
Yes.
That's easy. First meeting for you.
Okay, well, why don't we call our meeting to order? We'll go with who we've got here. And are there any agendas, additions? No? Okay, then we'll adopt our agenda as is, what you have in front of you. Any declarations of interest by any of the councillors in any of the items? Okay. Councillor absences, well, we have a few, but we do have a quorum. We've got 5. So we've got 4 missing. We don't make any motions to excuse for committee, but just noting that we may get a late arrival, but a few did let us know that they weren't going to be here.
You should list them anyway.
Yeah.
Name them.
Yeah, that was Celine, the deputy mayor. She advised she was not going to make it. Councillor McPherson also let us know she wouldn't make it. And Councillor Rowe did advise as well. So, and we'll read on the other ones and see what happens. Okay, the other one. So moving on to the reports for tonight, we're looking at this Arctic Energy Alliance request for proposal results. And Darryl, did you want to go over those?
Yes, Your Worship. Back in the early winter, we had engaged with Arctic Energy to do a workup on a request for proposals to do basically an LED retrofit of all our buildings, along with some mechanical retrofits as well. These were identified in a series of audits that AEA had done both last fall and in the past. As a result of the RFPs that went out, we had a specific RFP for electrical and one for mechanical. And as you see noted in the document, those proposals were reviewed and scored by both myself, Margaret Mahon from AEA in Yellowknife, and Tom Gross, AEA out of Hay River. Mr. Gross was person on the ground here in Fort Simpson helping develop the scope of work. So as you see, the 2 low proposals and recommendations, which we will bring to regular council on Monday evening for a formal resolution, would be to Bradbury Services, $30,850 for the electrical proposal, and to Central Mechanical Systems for the mechanical proposals at $127,900. That work, primarily the electrical work, is to basically take all of our buildings and LED them. It'll mean fixture changes, not changes so much, but just our lightings will be LED going forward. So will save us on energy costs. The mechanical systems are primarily ECE pumps, boiler controller systems, things of that nature on the different buildings, which external temperature resets. So all of these things together will allow us to be more energy efficient and give us a greener footprint. Having said that, the two numbers will come in over budget by about $75,000 over our estimates. And we still recommend that we move forward with the work and look to fund the additional cost through gas tax funding, which will pick up that. So basically, Arctic Energy is kicking in $50,000 on this project, and we'll fund the remainder with gas tax and some through CPI. So that is for council's information, and we'll bring that forward in a motion next Monday. And at this point, if there are any questions, comments.
Councillor Grove?
Just a couple of quick ones. RFP, that is, you send it out and what's the difference between an RFP and a tender?
A tender is very specific in that you ask specifically what you want.
Right.
Whereas an RFP can be more broad. It'll allow for contractors to have conversations and talk about how they want to achieve the work.
Yeah.
Has a little different type of scoring system, because you want to score it on how they're going to deliver it, are they going to deliver it on time, things of that nature.
So mechanical, okay, that's all the pumps and whatnot. And the rest is electrical pretty much. How did we get double? Where were our estimates? Because you said this is 75,000, and what they came in, the lowest one's 160,000 total, and we were off by 75,000.
We were very optimistic in our budgeting. I guess that's the only way I would preface it. We had hoped numbers would come in better, but going to the companies and getting their bids is where we are.
Do we know how much money we're going to save approximately off?
There is some estimating done by AEA when they did their audits of what we could save. I don't have that for your rate at the moment, Your Worship, but I can certainly look through the audits and send that information out.
Okay.
One other one, sorry.
Yeah.
The gas tax. How much is that, and is it not scheduled to be used already?
We have gas tax allocated within our capital plan. We haven't utilized all of it in this fiscal year of 2019. And we'll sort of free up some of those surplus funds to offset this cost. As well, we did have information from the government about that additional windfall of money that will sit in the gas tax account. So as we move capital plans forward in the coming years, and we identify projects that are gas tax eligible or gas tax eligible expenditures, we can sort of allocate those funds towards those projects. So
how much is the gas tax? How much do we have in the kitty? Any idea? 100, 200, 300 million?
Closer to $1 million. So with the windfall, we're getting this additional amount. So.
Okay. I wonder if for the next meeting, we could just get maybe a little bit better idea on how much money we actually are going to save by spending the spending, just so we know the payback period, if it's going to be 10 years or.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd look at half of it or something like that too. Other option.
Okay. I mean, I know we're getting 50,000 from the Arctic Energy, and that's a pretty good sum. It's not always there, so.
Yeah. This is a type of program they have for these kinds of projects. Okay.
Yeah, well, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you. For these projects with Arctic Energy Alliances, are we gonna use the local contractors or they gonna get their contractors themselves?
We'll
Good.
award to these two companies, and they're both local
Or-
companies, so,
Thank you.
They both had Fort Simpson business licenses?
yes.
Okay. And what was it that we said, 6 months? They had to have them for 6 months before was that our local preference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they've been in long enough.
They've been here for a while, yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, maybe we'll move on to the next item there then, which is
Strategic
a
plan?
strategic plan. And we were all sent a draft.
That's in the back of your package. I guess I gotta read them over. So you've all been circulated the draft from our folks at NACA. And we tried to incorporate the different goals that were identified and different actions on each of those. And I guess one of the reasons in bringing the information is to give you all an opportunity to look at it, maybe prioritize which you think is high priority for this year. We're not going to get all these done this year, but the ones that council sees as priorities and we identify, then we can push on those. So I guess over the next week or two, I give that some thought, and we can come up with a game plan. I did add one element in there that I thought was important from our safety meetings last week. That's under the public safety goal on the second page of it.
Mhm.
The development of a comprehensive health and safety program for the village. There's a lot we are doing, but there's a lot more that we can do, and we're not alone in the territories in terms of how we all are with respect to safety in the workplace. So we will push that fairly hard in the coming years to make that a priority within the village, so that we're always operating in a safe work environment as much as we can. So that's one that I thought was important. So I did add that in. Okay.
Councillors have any comments on that strategic plan? Okay.
I would look a little harder at it.
Yeah, I guess we gotta get
And I mean,
serious
if
about
you
it.
look at the document and this sort of sheet, if you have any questions, just feel free to email or call or try and get some answers.
Okay. So moving along, the landfill plan.
Okay.
More information.
Yeah, a lot of discussion our last meeting as to process, where we are, how we got there. So just wanted to bring forward some of the information again for council and give a bit of background to the process and how we sort of moved to where we're at. And I guess some of the initial work we had done was to identify an overreaching plan at the landfill that would identify some of the requirements that were had been on the books now for some time with the Mackenzie Valley Land Board, the Water Board, and try and identify those along with some operational changes that we had thought would tie in with some of these new changes. So we brought all of this together, and if the actual spreadsheet that identifies all of the different elements, the preliminary costings from Stantec on this. This formed the basis of the application that went into the ISIP program funding. So it is our hope that the governments will fund this project at 75%, leaving us with 25% to undertake to do these entire works. And so we sort of put that forward to the government. We had some further work done, at which time we had the committee meet at around the end of March. And we had that discussion with committee. Mitch was at that meeting talking about the landfill, the biosolids treatments, things of that nature. So, excuse me. And so within that package, we had the budget. We had some of the points from the Mackenzie Valley Water Board. We had the sketch that was done at this point. So we brought all that to the committee for their consideration. Also discussed at that meeting the operational changes we would be proposing with respect to doing everything in-house and not having contract. And these committee recommendations did flow back to council on April 1st and were approved by motion. Subsequent to that, contractor was advised of the changes as we were moving forward. And subsequent to that, did request a meeting with council, which he did attend last Monday. With respect to the project, should the government fund it, approve it, the engineers will be very, very involved in the design, the detail, the scoping. What you get from them going forward will not be a sketch, but it'll be a more professional engineered drawing of the site, some of the proposals and options. And we think that with all of the additional responsibilities that we will be undertaking as the village with respect to the composting and the hazmat, working with a transfer station concept, that it makes sense that we do it all in-house. I know there's disagreement on those points, but that is those are the conclusions we came to, and I guess we put forward that information to the committee and council. So that is, I guess, that process and the bullet points. So I guess, Your Worship, if there are any questions or comments from councillors, the floor is theirs.
Okay. Any comments from any councillors on that information? Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, a couple of comments right off the bat. The presentation at the committee meeting was really short. It was at the end of a meeting that started late. I believe we had about 10 minutes at the end to discuss it, and it was presented to us. And I had no idea what to ask, because it's really the first we had seen anything to do with this. And by reading this, it looks like the committee agreed to go ahead, and it appears like it was like we agreed to accept the minutes of the meeting, which meant that the council agreed to go ahead on a $1.155 million project on a 10-minute consultation. I don't think we did that. And have we proceeded with anything? Have we spent any money, committed any money to anything on this project at this time?
We won't be doing any commitments until we hear back from the feds and the territorial government on the ISIP application. Having said that, let's say we don't get approval. We still need to make some decisions with respect to the composting pad for the biosolids, because that is one of the elements that the water board is pushing hard on. And, you know, the other things will happen in due course, should the funding be approved.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
okay. We have sent a letter to the contractor involved, which means we've already begun some actions. Anyway, moving on. Going on to this solid waste landfill preliminary cost estimate. Okay. Concrete pads, building envelope, $200,000. $60,000 for the building, arch structure that's covered with whatever kind of thing.
Mhm.
That seems a little light because I looked into one a while ago, and it was over $100,000, and that's with a little cement footing around the outside.
Mhm.
It was over $100,000 at that time. I got a bad feeling that that's well under the cost. Where did we get our numbers?
Preliminary estimates were provided by Stantec Engineering.
Yeah, well, that sounds a little funny. Anyway,
Okay.
moving on. Down in the bottom, fencing, but not. Recycle bins. We are looking at $40,000. I made a couple of little books here. I made 3 or 4 of them. I went to Ritchie Brothers' site
Mhm.
on the auction, and this was from the April. You're gonna have to share because I didn't. A lot of ink. There's 1, 2, 3. I got one here. The recycling bins. Okay, they're hard to get, hard to find, and these were auctions that were held. The first one is Grand Prairie auctions for the recycle or the garbage bins. They're ranging from $15,000 to $21,000 in here, if that's the style we're looking at, something of that nature. I don't know, it's hard to say. And if you're gonna use that, anything like that, you also need a truck to move it around.
Mhm.
Okay, the truck to move it around will definitely not fit in to your $40,000, which is, you want 4 bins, according to the sketch. Okay, $40,000 isn't gonna come close to providing 4 bins and a vehicle for moving them around right off the bat. Okay, the compactor you've got sitting down here, 50. They had a lot of them for sale, and I tried printing the whole list, but it failed. So,
Mhm.
but they started down. There was some at 50. They went and they didn't look very good, and they were the smooth drum style, and they go all the way up. I don't know all the way through, but these ones are sitting at $200,000 and $195,000.
Mhm.
Like the one, and these are similar. I don't know what this one is that is out of the dump right now, but they're similar type items. We're not going to get that for $50,000. Secure power source. I'm not sure what that means. The trailer, a chipper. Couldn't find much on chippers. They're made for a house or for, I don't know, like $3,000 is all they had for in there for a chipper. We've got down $30,000. What are we chipping that's worth $30,000? One more statement and then I'm done on this part. $1,155,000 seems like a lot of money. And this whole bottom section, the transfer station, $276,000 is, I don't like that at all. And as far as the composting pad, I have other issues with that one. You want me to continue? I'll continue on because I have one more item discussion. The letter from the Mackenzie Land and Water Board. We have a printout here. Is this what they wrote down? Is this what's on the letter? Or did somebody?
Those will be the bullet points that we prepared off of I'll call it the approval. Some of our operation and maintenance.
Yeah, I would really like to see the whole letter.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go through this letter a little bit on
Ken.
some points that I have here.
With respect to that point, could I ask you if you would talk to Kevin at some point, and he can direct you to the
Yes, I've been to the website.
website? Yeah,
I've been on the
it can
website,
be
but-
difficult to sort of navigate.
Yeah, I discovered
Yeah.
that. Court Simpson's mentioned a lot of times in there, and every time we've got to chase them down. And so,
Yeah.
so yes, maybe I'll get some help from you guys running through that.
Okay.
The bear fence.
Yes.
Okay, I guess if they require it, they require it, but that seems to be drawing the bears in and not letting them have it, so they're going to be moving to town. I'm not sure that's a good idea, and I think it would be worth, I don't know, I just don't like that. And down here, the Golder Report of 2018 recommended that from an economic perspective, windrows composting would be a good idea. It's preferred for here. But yet the village wants to spend this $1.1 million on our facility here. And what they're talking about, I believe, I'm guessing actually, is a big open area where you dump the sledge and you turn it over on a regular basis.
And I think that's exactly what the Windrose concept is.
That sounds a whole bunch cheaper than us going and spending $324,000 for a cement pad to put that on. This makes no sense whatsoever to me here.
Mhm.
Why we would do that. So we have $324,000 where we could take and clear a bit of bush,
Mhm.
make a big flat area, haul our pile of whatever it is over to this big flat area, and our problem's gone away. So if we took this and canceled this out, it's $324,000, and we did not do this transfer station for $276,000. There's nothing left. I haven't mentioned this hazmat thing because I don't have a clue what that is. So I haven't mentioned that $324,000. And that is all I have to say at this time. I would like, actually, one more thing, sorry,
Yeah.
one more comment. I would like to see council ask for a cost benefit analysis for this whole project to see what this $1.155 million is going to save us in the long run.
Okay. Just for a minute, Kevin?
I just wanted to answer just a couple of points there. With the fencing, I had a few discussions with them about it, and they've been very insistent, and I actually made the argument that I was concerned bears are going to start coming to town. And the response I got was, historically, I guess it's been proven in other places, I think possibly Enterprise or some other communities, where they put the fence around the landfill, and then the number of bears coming to town have increased for 2 to 3 years after, and then it settles down again. So I guess until those bears get used to not being able to get food here. So, and that, I think we should expect more bears in town for a couple of years, but they weren't budging on it. I don't think there's any way around it.
Is that around the whole landfill or is that around their
Just
solid
around-
waste
Just around the landfill itself, not just the residential. landfill.
residential garbage, the ones the bears like?
Exactly. Yeah. And just another thing to take into consideration with the composting pad is that we have to address the leachate drainage. So we can't just have it in a space with no plan for drainage. So I think the cement pad, it may not be necessary to have a cement pad, but long-term it's more sustainable. But it isn't the cheapest way to do it, that's for sure.
I mean, remember too, that 75%, as our SAO told us, is potentially going to be funded by federal government under their Infrastructure Canada program. Because if you don't do it, yeah, that's the amount you're going to save because you just didn't address the problems. But I think the landfills too are getting to be more and more of a concern from an environmental point of view, and it becomes a bigger and bigger liability for the village. We kind of got lucky when we had all those metals taken out, because I remember the study by Golder and Associates and talking about the lifespan of our dump. It was coming close, dangerously close to the end when we sort of ended up having out-of-town contractor come and ask if they could just take all the steel at no cost to ourselves. Now, we lucked out there, right? And, but how we maintain the dump and lengthen its life is very important. And eventually, I guess, how we deal with the environmental solution or the leftovers when we leave. These are things that on our financial statements are getting to be bigger and bigger amounts left on there for potential liability. So I think it's one of those things where you don't make money at a dump, right? We just, all you ever do is spend money. And if we can get federal money to do it, I recognize you're saying some of these costs may be understated, and when we see the Arctic Energy Alliance bids that come in, we see, yes, sometimes, things are just higher than what we thought, but, maybe these to me look like if everything went well, this would be the plan, right? But those plans may have to change going ahead, depending on whether we actually get the funding,
But are we, okay, I just did a little bit of time searching out these costs, and they made everything that I looked at way out to lunch in the estimates. Okay, so we get 3/4 of that and find out that we're 100% low, which would make it a $2 million project.
Yeah.
Sorry, we cannot go forward until we know what this is going to cost. That's my opinion, and that's subject to whatever, but we need to know cost saving analysis, and we need to know what it costs to do this project. More than one page written up.
So as we move forward, I mean, that's a budget, that's a concept at this point. That went to government for consideration for funding. If the government comes back and funds this project in what we've provided to them, it gives us the opportunity to go out and actually do a more thorough engineered design for these elements and get a much better costing estimate on what it would be, which would come back to council. You may find some of these are higher than what this is, some of them may be lower. But we have the opportunity to receive 75% funding to make investments at the landfill that will sustain the landfill for a much longer life cycle, will give us an opportunity to make the landfill safer for people who are at the landfill by not allowing them back into the workings. It will give us the opportunity to properly treat our biosolids that we need to do, to possibly allow us to have a hazmat receiving station for our own local people. So these are all ideals and goals to want to achieve. If the money's not there, then we have to sort of do a reset and look at it again. But if they come back to us and say they're going to fund this at these levels, then I would say, my suggestion would be that we take the next steps to find out how much these are going to cost to do. Look at the whole aspect of tendering out for this work and see what happens. We have an opportunity to have an investment in the community of over $1 million, which $750,000 of is covered by other levels of government. And we're going to benefit from that.
But what happens when it costs $1.5 million? Is the government still saying, oh, okay, because we've estimated $1.1 million, and I do not believe that we can move forward. The numbers are not, they're just sort of guesses as far as I can tell, by just looking at the few things I've looked at. They're not even,
I guess.
And also one more thing, and then I am done. We did have a committee meeting. We did, I guess, approve the minutes, or we did say, well, something about advancing. And we did vote on it in a council meeting to move forward, it seems, on a 3-line statement here that was kind of meant to be ambiguous as far as I can tell, anyway. But I do not believe those costs are anywhere near the true cost.
Well, it doesn't hurt for us to find out. I mean, that's, if we can find out that it costs X or Y, with the knowledge that the governments are going to pay 3/4 of up to a limit, then I think it's worth investigating. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this whole landfill? Yeah, Marie?
Well, will the government have the proper estimates on what these are going to cost?
The government has these numbers before them right now. So these are the numbers that Stantec provided based on the concepts we provided to them. They're not numbers we generated, in-house here. Those came from Stantec. And when you add in the other elements, I guess we'll see what the government comes back with respect to our proposal. We can always be optimistic and hope for a positive response, but we won't know until we know.
Councillor Grove?
Can we get a copy of the Golder report in 2018,
18?
whatever it is?
Sure. Okay, well, that maybe fills in some of the gaps there from this last meeting and what was talked about. Doesn't mean you can't talk more about it, or there's more things that won't be discussed going ahead. I think it's kind of what we said was we wanted to take back a lot of the maintenance activities at the dump, given that this was potentially all happening. Because if you start to commit to other activities or tenders, then obviously now you're going to be doing things, contractors are going to be doing things. What you thought you were going to gain in efficiencies, maybe not now, because if you end up doing this and the contractor's out there doing other things, maybe there's duplication where there didn't need to be before. Until we know what's going on with this, it's almost seems like wiser, I guess, to just hold off on committing to any.
Question on that.
Yeah.
When are we, like this plan, if you haven't even got the costs involved or anything set up, you're not getting your cement pad this fall.
Yeah.
I think you probably know that. Okay. What's the plan for the winter? Meaning we're taking over the maintenance contract and upping our costs and with not knowing if this is even going?
Yeah, I guess that's what the idea was, and that we still have to compact and bury the garbage periodically. I'm not sure exactly how often that has been occurring. I guess it was administration's opinion that the cost for us to do it ourselves going ahead would be.
But that's not an administrative decision. That is a council decision.
Well, it's definitely for administration to recommend to us, because they have the numbers, the figures, and
But we don't.
that's why we hire administration, I guess, to tell us those things.
To bring the stuff forward to council to make decisions.
No. Yeah, I mean, how much detail were you looking for, I guess, is the question.
More than one page on a $1.1 million project.
Yeah. Like, can we possibly get some kind of I guess what Councillor Grote is asking about is the contract that we had out there and what was going on with that. And so now if we're doing it ourselves, are we gonna save money doing that?
You can certainly provide
Is
that.
there
to
some
council.
kind of, because if we're looking at that, can we get some sort of rationale as to how or why we're going to do it that way rather than put it out? Just so it's a little more clear as to why that decision was recommended.
Yes, we can do that, Your Worship.
Okay, maybe we can get something in writing there and something you could look at and compare. All right. Any other councillor concerns or questions on this landfill facility? Okay, well, let's move on to the next item, which is the welcome sign and banners. Okay. Kevin's gonna.
SAO, Kevin will be taking over.
Okay,
I'm just gonna pull this up on the screen.
Okay.
Sorry, bear with me. There we go. So here's our welcome sign. It's the sign and the structure, it's being completed and it'll be shipped once the ferry's in. So we've been trying to come up with the best location. And I've narrowed it down to 4 suggestions. If any councillor has any other suggestions, we're open to anything, but I thought for the sake of trying to make a decision and narrow it down, the first option I thought of was right on the island as you come over the causeway on the corner of the golf course. The second one would be where the current welcome to Fort Simpson sign is. One other option that was put forward was just at the airport, and another one was right off the ferry. So I would put that for council's consideration. This is the spot in town we were considering. As you can see, the VIC there, and something like that. What were we thinking about? Lastly, and you might notice something else on this picture out of the ordinary. We had considered banners. We've been looking at sourcing some banners for as you come across the causeway, all the power poles along Main Street up until you get to the river. It would come to almost exactly $9,000. My thinking was if council were interested in moving forward with this, we get 4 or 5 different designs, and so each banner on each power pole is alternating, and they repeat itself all the way down Main Street. So we could have, welcome to Fort Simpson, welcome to Lidwickwa, pictures of Nahanni National Falls, Virginia Falls, Nahanni National Park, the teepee, things like that. And so this is just an idea of what it might look like, and an option for one of our banners. And that's it. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I like those signs, they're nice.
You like the banners?
Mhm.
Yeah. Would we be able to get funding from ITI to help cover some of the costs of those banners? I
It
wonder.
would be, gas tax, or
Yeah.
no, gas tax.
Not sure on that one.
Because I'd recommend you talk to ITI.
I
See
Didn't we
if,
ask?
I mean, they've already helped with the sign, right?
Mm.
That's whether there's extra money now to come up with the banners and
Yeah.
marketing. Could be a different pot of money potentially.
I think we might fit it in somewhere for next year. It doesn't really fit with any of the current programs.
Right. They stand out. I know Yellowknife puts them out. You really notice them.
Yeah, Hay River has them.
Really geared for visitors, and we've got territorial ball tournament happening. We've got I think it's the Denny National Assemblies happening here too.
Mhm.
There are some events. So,
And do you like them running along every pole?
How far down?
It might be,
I had planned for all the way from the causeway to the river, but we could scale back that
I
too.
wonder, that might look cluttered. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe every other pole,
That would be cheaper too. So.
right?
And then we could try it. Right? Maybe we could put that fit it in a budget that we have
We
somewhere.
could do every other pole probably close to $4,500.
And what's powerful, what is it gonna cost to put on power poles? 'Cause-
I'm waiting for permission, but if we get permission, we should be able to do it ourselves.
Oh, okay, because it's below
It's below the cables and there's no hookup required.
Right.
So we just have to get permission.
How would you get up there?
No ladder. Big
No.
enough step. Oh,
No, you're not working off a ladder, because that pole you got right there, the top of that sign is 20 feet in the air.
yeah, I'd have to leave that up to our public works.
You would have to, yeah, there'd be
Yeah,
some
but-
technology.
We have a scissor lift.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would be sort of a one-time hit where you really, the bracing for those is
Put it up once and
is
then.
the main thing. After that, it's a quick unhook and hook
Yeah.
up again.
Climbing round things with ladders
It never works. too
is
well.
not recommended.
Safety. Yeah, there goes back to that safety thing there.
That's why I don't do that for.
You're talking like you might know from experience.
Yeah,
Councilor Hassan?
Thank you. I just have a question. Are we considering that location right now? So we moved on? And if we
I should
consider-
have stopped there
And if
before
we
we went on
consider
to
that
banners
location,
again.
how is it gonna be at night? So if I'm driving from there and I'm coming here, I'm not gonna see it because we have another sign, an LED sign at the icebreaker. It's gonna be shiny. This one is gonna be in the dark. So my second question is,
Our
Are we
our
gonna
sign's
have
gonna be a
power there?
lot shinier than the icebreaker.
I don't think so. I have to be honest, I don't think so. Yeah, so are we gonna have power there or
We're gonna
have a
sol-
light on it or solar?
We haven't got lighting ordered yet, but I think solar lighting.
It still is not gonna be that bright, by the way. The
Solar lighting,
icebreaker
you can do a
sign
lot.
is really nice and bright. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
amazing what solar lights will do, because you only need it on until midnight.
Yeah, there's nobody's.
You know, if it comes on, if you solar cells light it up from till 5 o'clock in the wintertime, and you get 4 or 5 hours out of it,
Yeah.
that's all you would need for the lighted period.
Yeah, there's something to be said for putting it closer to the downtown, and that, if this building does become the dedicated visitor center that we're hoping it might, to have the sign right beside it, you know, you get less vandalism.
Yeah.
It's a spot people can pull out, stop and admire the rest of the area, rather than just being out in the bush somewhere and taking a picture.
We also thought there may be opportunities as we go forward to sort of fill in that area with some interpretive panels of the history of Fort Simpson and just give it a place where people that are visiting can come in and get a really good snapshot of the village. You know, the sign is great and the banners and just sort of just build upon it. So
It's such an expensive sign. I mean, I like to keep it closer to where we can keep an eye on it.
I would really recommend keeping it within sight of Fort Simpson rather than going out halfway or all the way, because risk of vandalism will go up the
Yeah.
further it is from town.
Yeah.
So can I ask
Yeah.
council if we could narrow it down to one or two possibilities for location?
I think this location is really good.
Do you think this location is good?
I think so.
Could be-
It enhances the golf
Be a little
course
too
area
far.
too.
Yeah, I think we see it a little closer.
yeah,
But then there's
I
those
mean, that may
others-
not be the final resting spot it goes
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
A good Photoshop
Then
job
there's
there.
So,
all those signs there in the way.
Is there any chance when you try to find funding for the banners, you can get small signs for the other locations or for one location, say, and change that municipal spelling wrong, spelling one at the,
Is
When you are
the spelling
coming
wrong?
yeah?
Says municipal boundary out at the, close to the ferry
Close to
camp.
ferry.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah. So that's a bad sign.
okay, sure.
Do you like the idea of having staggered banners that have 5 different sort of images that are, you may have 20 banners and you may have 4 sets of 5 running
So I would
through.
keep people looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You don't want the same over and over for
No.
sure.
Okay.
Well, that's a good
And then
idea.
we also, Kevin also thought that, you know, by having the different images, we try and reach out to as broad a spectrum of people in the community. Try and satisfy everybody's sort of want or need.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Hassan.
My last comment. Before we decided the design of the sign, we checked with the bank. So is there any way that we can also share this with the LKPN and the Métis and see their opinion on that?
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that will be helpful
I would show them that picture and just say that, you know, have they got,
with all
are
the
they in
details.
agreement with that? Is there any
Yeah.
reason why this wouldn't be a good?
Maybe you can ask the bands for money.
I did bring it to the last interagency meeting,
Yeah,
and so I got a good response.
I will make one comment on the location.
Absolutely.
You see it from here, because this is where you're gonna be driving in from,
Exactly.
but you can't read it. Okay, you see the sign, it's a gorgeous looking sign, can't read it. If it was on the other side of the road by that monument thing that the village has, would
That's
that
another
be a better
story.
location? Because the backdrop for this
Yeah.
is,
The space is a little tight, but it might work.
yeah, I don't know how much space there is there or anything.
I
But
thought-
this is just, I love it in town, close to town, but you're not reading it. That's my only comment.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I like the parking there.
Yes,
It's got that big pullout and maybe if we were gonna do these panels interpretive, we'd have more. It doesn't mean we couldn't put something else on the other side too at some point, right? I mean, that's a nice little viewing area.
For sure. So I think that unless I'm mistaken, the general consensus is that we should keep it close in town.
Until now, until it come to the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess a decision has to be made pretty soon. And who's putting it up? How are we getting it
Our
up?
own stuff.
Oh, okay. Are the log people gonna come and help
It's
put the
been shipped up.
pieces?
It's all ready to put together.
Okay.
It's all
Puzzle.
Those are heavy pieces, right?
Yeah.
So they're coming with a little bit of a crane to lift them into place, or is
they're
that
shipping it up.
They're shipping it up.
just shipping? So it's up to us once it gets there?
Yeah.
Oh,
That sounds like a,
Lego,
oh,
heavy, those are heavy pieces, right?
Yeah.
Might need the lift truck there,
If we get to a point where we need help, we will
Yeah.
ask.
The ferry might be in 2-3 days, so
Yeah.
that means it's ready.
It's ready, it hasn't been shipped, but it's ready to ship.
Okay, just share it with the LKPN and the Métis and ASAP, and we're ready.
Yeah, good to get they're okay on that location, make sure there's no other concerns.
Thank you.
Okay, we can get it up before these events start to happen here. All right, so that's pretty well the end of the agenda, I guess, unless anybody has any other.
Just, if I may, your worship, can we move forward with the design and purchase of, will it be about 20 banners?
We do every second
Every other
pole
second
and 20.
Be about 4,500?
From
What
where,
do you guys say?
where's your budget
I've got
at?
a few,
Is there money you can find?
That sounds to me like a really good, eligible tourism marketing kind of project. The gas tax should.
Gas tax. That gas tax is gonna take a beating till it's gone.
We hope to give us another windfall next year.
Yes.
At this rate.
So I think,
I think
I
we
think
want
the
to.
amount of money that we're talking is certainly funds we can find in either an operating or a capital budget, so.
Or ITI.
Or ITI, we'll certainly ask them,
Yeah.
okay?
So is that a general agreement then from everybody? Because pending decision, I mean,
Yes, for me,
Yeah.
I like it.
what does everybody else say?
Yeah, I'm okay with the banners, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
the 20 banners,
Every
the half
second.
price deal.
every second one.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I guess Clayton, you're good with that one?
Yep.
Okay,
We're good to go, thank you.
all right. All right then, no in-camera items?
No.
All right then, well, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right on.
Thank you all.
Daryl, in June 2017,
You'll see that.
Kim Lambert